We're live.
And
We're live. Are we
Hello,
actually
friends.
live?
We are actually live. It says live 11 sec. We're already 12 seconds in. You're late to the party.
So is Facebook. Lies in the street.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Catt Chatt. I am your host, that Tomcat, and I am joined by the drag mermaid of Long Island, Bella Noche, and I am
Hi.
so happy to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I don't know what's in there, but hopefully it's alcohol. Cheers.
That's it. That's it. You know, smorgasbord. Who knows I don't know what's in here. I put tea in here. Oh, Allegedly, there's tea.
Is it tea from Long Island? I've heard those fuck people up.
I have been fucked up by many a Long Island iced tea. So how are you doing, darling?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a new year and actually lies. I'm horrible.
I'm like, don't you bullshit on us here.
I will say this. I'm very excited that it's a new year. These first 10 days have been a little bit of a struggle bus. It's cold. I'm needing to motivate myself to do things. It's that it's that time of year where no one wants to do anything. And getting out of bed is now chore number one of the day.
Yes. I quite agree. Before the show began, actually, I was complaining because Bella just looks so absolutely phenomenal, and here I am looking like, well,
usually you're so I was like, let's give him the week off. Let's not the pressure not on for this one. I'll do the heavy lifting here.
Oh, well, thank God. Thank the Lord for small mercies. So, yes, we were actually talking about how the both of us have lovely bouts of seasonal depression, and it's been a very trying couple of days.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's extra this year because we're coming off of the craziest years of any of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hitting hard.
Yeah.
I'm usually here for I love powering through a tight spot, giggity. It's real.
Yeah.
This year it feels colder. It feels like it's getting darker even earlier. It's the temperature is never right in the house. I just literally, I think the thing I do the most of the day is adjust the thermostat. I'm over 65. Time for 75. That's too hot. Back to 69.
Careful, Bella. You're sounding awful butch right now, dear.
That was me pretending when I'm a boy. I'm I was trying to do a caricature of me, not like this.
Yeah.
A little bit more bush, a little more gruff.
Oh yes, we've all been. Who hasn't been there? So I guess let's start the conversation by asking, how did you, Bella, create the character of Bella Noche?
Well, it was in two parts because the name came first, and then the character kind of came later. Yeah, so I'm a writer by trade before I started drag. But my biggest weakness as a writer is I'm horrible with titles. So it actually took me a second to come up with the name, and I was going through stuff, and nothing was really sticking. And one day I was watching Lady and the Tramp, and you know me, I'm a huge Disney nerd.
Of course.
So I had Lady and the Tramp on, and that iconic scene with the spaghetti came on, and they're singing that song in the background.
Bella,
but I'm not. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, that'd be a really cute name if I was Italian. I was like, wait a second, I'm a Rosetta. And I got Bella Noche, just Puerto Ricanized it.
Well, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. So where did the fascination with mermaids come about?
I mean, I've been obsessed with mermaids ever since I was a little kid.
Okay.
Little Mermaid has always been my favorite Disney movie.
Natural,
and I think the idea of just a mermaid in general, of this beautiful humanoid creature that's still like one with nature, but possesses magic, just has unlimited freedom, And so when I was thinking about creating Bella, the character, not just the name, I was trying to find something to do, because at first I just, I didn't want to be like another like Latina chola. There's plenty of that.
But you are right.
Yeah, right. They do all right. And so I was, mermaids for me, when it really comes down to it, mermaids for me are a symbol of beauty and freedom. And first of all, drag was a way for me to really delve into the whole beauty aspect of the art form. You couldn't pay me to look ugly. That's a lie. That's actually a lie.
Okay.
I'm all about correcting my fibs tonight. And I just felt like mermaids represent this level of mythical freedom. And that's how I felt when I'm in drag. I just feel like I have this unlimited freedom and creativity that I don't always feel when I'm not in drag. And so a mermaid just kind of like really sums up how I feel when I'm in drag. Obviously, the color scheme, and I really like mermaids, but the actual
holographics, the greens, the blues, the purples. Right.
But also like what a mermaid symbolizes, both in mythology and to me.
Well, that's fabulous. I never knew that, and I don't know if my viewers knew about that. I don't know if your friends, Finn's friends. There really was just tea in the tea. I'm very thankful that I now know that. How did you get started? How did you get started into drag? So we know how you created the character of Bella Noche. How did you start doing it?
Yeah, it was a complete and total accident. I was working in nightlife. I was kind of like a side promoter. I was like doing stuff. So I was going to a lot of shows. I was meeting a lot of drag queens. And this one queen in particular, I became very cool with. Her name is Suttonly Seymour. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her work.
I addressed Cacophony Daniels and Sutton were like the Broadway dames of drag.
Oh yes, yes. Broadway Mondays was like the tea. Anyway, so actually coming up on 5 years ago, because my 5-year drag anniversary is coming up. 5 years ago, Suttonly Seymour came to me, and she used to do the show at Barracuda called the First Timer Show. Yeah. And she was like, I think you should do it. And I was like, really? And she's just like, yeah, I think you should. And I like asked a couple people that I knew, and they were like, yeah, do it. And at that time I had seen enough drag in New York that I was like, fine, if I'm gonna do it once, I want to be like sickening. Okay. So like I had people help me. I have 2 friends, I call them my gay drag dads. In Florida. One of them used to do drag and used to do pageant drag in Jacksonville. So I like flew down to Florida. I did like a weekend of drag boot camp. I learned how to walk in heels. She picked up my outfit. We got my hair. I like learned choreo. I had a reveal. It was like legit. Right. Because the whole time I was
you wanted to go hard. You wanted to go hard.
Right, because also like I was like, as a boy, I was at that time I was known as somebody in nightlife, and I was like, all right, if Isaiah's gonna go do drag for the first time, like, and just do it once, like it's gonna be memorable and it's gonna be done correctly. So I went all in, and I was the best of the night.
There's the humble bitch we all know and love.
I mean, I feel like the best part about being like overall humble is that every once in a while you get like a narcissistic line.
Everyone gets a line. Everyone gets one. Everyone gets one.
So I did the show, and literally after the show, someone came up to me and they were like, this bar just opened uptown. They're starting drag shows and looking for new queens to come and do a guest spot. Would you like to do one? And I was like, okay. And it just snowballed from there. And every time I went out, I got booked for something else. And here we are 5 years later.
Well, I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I am very proud of the journey that you have gone on. That has led you to this fabulousness that you're living right now. I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And I only see your star continuing to rise.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. I mean, I do mean that sincerely. I have
I know.
adored
If I didn't believe you, I'd tell you.
you. You probably have my bullshit. No, I have. So me and you became friends because you become friends with one drag queen, you become friends with all the drag queens.
Especially out here on Long Island.
Of course, very tight knit family the drag community is on Long Island.
Which is so crazy because it's literally like the opposite of like the first 3 years of my drag career in New York City. So yeah, but anyway, continue.
No. I was going to say, so you and I became friends, and I've just been watching your journey basically because we've been friends for what, about 2 years now, 2.5 years, and it's just been so inspiring and so magical to see. The mermaid has gained her legs,
and that's one of the things. And another thing where I like literally, it felt like learning how to walk because I'm not trained in makeup. I'm not trained in acting, singing, dancing. It was a passion project. And so I taught myself literally everything from the ground up, earning my sea legs, as it were. And literally the only thing I went into drag knowing how to do was lip sync, which ironically was a really good thing. Because not for nothing, you could be the most gorgeous queen in the world. If you up there and you don't know how to lip sync and perform, girl. I would rather see someone busted as fuck that knows their words and will do a sickening performance than someone who looks all together and then stands there and Charlie hides it. I've
never heard that expression before.
It's true though.
No, it is true. Every Halloween, a drag queen gets their wings.
Every Halloween, like 50 drag queens get their wings.
Yep, there's a sea of drag queens that get their wings on Halloween.
Well, it's funny. I think you're usually like you're either like a Halloween queen or like a Pride queen, and I was neither. So I kind of like that. For me, is also like a little badge of like.
There's your winky pin, baby. Oh my god, I'm curious. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a conchata y toro of Casillero de Diablo.
Tisha, I love it when you speak French.
Oh, thanks.
So, in the times of COVID, how have you been handling yourself? How have you been doing?
It's interesting because when COVID started, like last year was really set up to be like a really busy year for me. I was booked for shows. I had private gigs, weddings, birthday parties, like all this stuff. And then March hit and it was just like, nope.
There goes all the gigs.
So at first it was, I guess depressing is the word, but almost like debilitating because I'm a full-time queen. That's how I pay my bills. That's how I, get by. And so to essentially have your source of income stripped away in and a thing that you can't even be really mad at because it's understandable. It's just whatever. So for a sec I was adjusting, as we all were, and then there was the explosion of the virtual drag renaissance. And I got busy again. And it was to the point where I was just like, I am exhausted and haven't left my house in 2 weeks. What's going on?
And you're able to make bank that way.
Thankfully, a lot of queens were able to make money that way.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think a lot of queens and performers who started the virtual thing, like doing virtual is just as, if not harder, than doing an in-person show. Like, at least in an in-person show, you have feedback. You can bounce off people. You get applause. You get validation. You are there. It's a communal space. You don't have to provide your own alcohol. All of these things that we took for granted. And, in doing these virtual shows, you kind of have to literally depend on your own, like, strength to go through it. I remember, and shout out to Paul. He's literally like the best boyfriend ever. I remember when I was first doing like the virtual shows and stuff like that. I would be here and he'd performing, and he'd be in the living room. And anytime I do a number, he would sit up, he'd sit at the couch, watch, and then applaud, and then go back to the thing. When I go back talking, I was like, he's so supportive. Because it's insane how much you miss.
Hard. It's
just
very
applaud.
hard.
Just applause. Like, shout out to Annie Manalju. I remember I did a few things with her, and she had her own like applause button after her numbers. And I was like, yes, do it, bitch.
That's so fucking on brand for her.
And we're right, and I was like, really?
It works. It works. It
I would
works.
really do that. It would be her.
Yeah, no, it's true, but it works for her, and that's. I remember the first drag show that I did when the pandemic hit. It was for a bachelorette party, and it's just it takes you so out of it, because like when you're at a bar, when you're at a space, you hear the applause, you give to the audience and they give to you. Like it's a very reciprocal relationship.
Absolutely.
But when it's like virtual, it's like, I'm sitting here in this tiny little box as whatever character I was. I think I was Ursula at the time, hilariously enough. And just I'm here and I'm like, okay, we can live with this, I guess. This is something that we can do. And it's just been so fascinating. It has been so fascinating when you're so used to the applause and the affection and the respect and the camaraderie and the back and forth. It takes you out of it, man. It takes you completely out of it.
And thankfully, I kind of had a little leg up on the virtual show game. I have my show on Spoiled My Sea Cocktails and Contours.
Yes,
I've been doing that for a number of years. So I had kind of like gotten like the kind of I don't know, bearing of like doing an online show. But even in that, my guest was always right next to me. It was a very interactive. It was, you're not worried about the other person's Wi-Fi connection, because that's the other thing. Like these virtual shows, there's so many variables that could go wrong on top of the variables that already could go wrong on a drag show. So it's, you don't have to light yourself at a bar show, you're not your DJ at a bar show.
Yeah.
No one's making sure that you paid your Wi-Fi bill that month, like that's why I said I think that I'm in the field that, the virtual shows are harder than the in-person shows. Especially how long they went, it would have been different if like the quarantine lasted like a month, 2 months, but that was not the case. And so the longer it goes on, the harder it gets. It's just arduous. It's just one of those things that, you
got to make applesauce. You got to when life gives you lemons, make applesauce.
And that's what I did. That's what so many queens did. One of my biggest successes during pandemic was my Mermaid Monday show that I did with Paul, where it wasn't just like drag and making light and making people happy, where it was, it was a time.
You guys were having serious conversations.
Yeah, and it was an interesting time for everyone to kind of capitalize on the unique things that they had available to them. And the thing I had available to me, a scientist boyfriend that knows about COVID. Let's use this, and it was even him, like he even suggested, he was just like, if anyone has any questions about the virus, let me know. And I was like, are you really down to answer questions? He said, yes. And I was just like, and he was completely on board since day one. And now it's funny because he's been known in his own right as, Paul Vader, Bella's, man friend, that whole thing. But now he's Dr. Paul, and people are like messaging him with like, even today, he messaged me. He was just like, oh my gosh, I got like 8 messages today about the vaccine. And I was just like, hey.
Isn't that a nice feeling though?
What?
Isn't that a nice feeling though?
It is. And I told him, I was like, hey, with great power comes great responsibility. And but no, it was also nice to be able to do something with him during the pandemic that was regular, because like that's the other thing, like people were stuck together for months, and if you don't like the person that much, or he's just like, okay, that, some things have ended.
I have no idea what that feels like. I completely and totally love the people that I'm rooming with lately.
Oh, do you live alone?
No, not at all. I live with family.
Interesting term there, roommates.
Flatmates.
Yeah, flatmates. Oh, I love
flatmates.
Yeah, it's being the pandemic was a test for everybody, and
it's still a test.
I don't think everyone passed with flying colors, but a lot of people really made it work.
How do you feel about the Puerto Vallarta gays?
I was the one who sent the dolphins to capsize that boat. Tell us whence it was me.
Oh, merciful heavens, that's funny. You and Annie Manodou sort of led the charge on a lot of call out posts, especially with the Hell's Kitchen circuit party, and just it's so disrespectful.
I feel like everyone gets it. It's a hard time to not be doing that, especially in the summer. We get it. But if everyone else can figure out how to be responsible, like what? You're somehow they're good, so we can do us. No. And then I think, and this is the thing where it's like where my understanding stops, and it was just like you posted all of this on social media and expected not to get a backlash. Like I remember when that first party happened in Hell's Kitchen, the sheer of the audacity of these tweaked out people that were so into what they were doing that they didn't even realize that, oh, maybe we shouldn't be posting this because this is, this would affect us poorly. And it's unfortunate, social media accounts have gotten deleted. People are off social media, but it's like, you did it to yourself, girl. So.
But I mean, and the fact that they have the absolute gall to say, "Oh well, it's not my fault. I just wanted to go, and I just wanted to." Why? There's a pandemic happening.
I'm stuck at home. You should be too. And one of those things where or if you are
the excuses and the apology videos that I have seen, it's just you have everything going for you. You have everything going for you, and you have the nerve to do something like that? Come now, really.
Well, also, you know what else? Other than just the health and stuff like that, people are literally can't buy groceries. People are struggling. People are on unemployment for the first time in years. Yeah. And you're off blowing money on a Puerto Vallarta cruise? Fuck you! If you're going to go do that, you got that money, props, lovely, blessed, go do it. But then don't be like an ass about it, especially at a time when you shouldn't be doing it. That's the thing. I have in my life sometimes done stuff that I'm not supposed to, but I only do it if I know I can get away with it.
It's true though. It's absolutely true though. If you can get it,
even still, that's why I don't try to be shady anymore, because anytime I try to do something underhanded in the past, I'm immediately found out. Immediately. There's no hiding it. There's no sitting on it.
And the big takeaway here is that you hold yourself accountable. If Correct. Bella does something wrong, Bella holds herself accountable. If Tomcat does something wrong, Tomcat holds themselves accountable.
It's no one else's fault.
It's the people that say, "Oh, well, it's not my fault; it's their fault." No, the blame game doesn't work like that, sweet cheeks. Try again.
It's a level of entitlement that is it's beyond.
It is. That is the perfect word to use.
It's just a beyond the level that we've ever seen before, and it just sucks that it's so prevalent in our community. We're supposed to be the smarter ones. We're supposed to be a little bit more in tune with the world and things like that. And
one of the arguments that I've seen is, we've survived the AIDS epidemic. We have seen people survive the AIDS pandemic and HIV, and you have the nerve to do something like that, knowing the history of who we are. Are you
That's the
serious?
problem. That's the problem. Knowing the history and respecting the history are two very different
They're
things.
two very different. You're right. You are right.
And it's the same reason why, before this pandemic, when everyone, was out in Fire Island and partying, stuff like that, people were okay with being like ageist. And it's just like, what? Especially in the gay community. Not only have they paved a way, they survived way more than you ever have to worry about. Yeah. And they're still here. You should be like, oh my gosh, like I remember when I was younger and going out and meeting people, I've always been someone, especially when I was younger, little kid, I always liked being around people that were older than me because I like learning. Yeah. I like learning. I would be like if we were if I literally grew up, if I was like Moana on the island, I would be the one like in front of the campfire listening to all the stories while all the kids are screaming. I'm like, tell me more. I loved listening to like stories from like the gay scene in like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And a lot of me was just like, fuck, I missed that. But there was a lot of other stuff that came along with it, not just politically, but health-wise and things like that. So there's a huge story there. And I feel like the people that are in, not only do they not respect it, but some of them haven't even cared to like learn about it. Mm-hmm. Where they're in their own little bubble and they're all that they care about.
There's a severe lack of empathy. I feel there has been a severe lack of empathy from queer individuals, from people in general. Step outside of the gay book for a second or two and just look outside and see all of I have seen so many videos on TikTok because it ends up on my For You page for whatever reason. And I just see such a lack of empathy. People just don't care anymore. People don't care if they're hurting their fellow man. And that really, really hurts. That leaves me very bitterly disappointed, a little jaded. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of enjoy just being in this little box. Because I don't know. I'm just I am constantly let down by my community for their actions sometimes. And sometimes I'm lifted back up. Like when you had your conversation with Desmond is amazing. I was so excited and so happy that they were on your show and that you were having a conversation with them and their parents were accepting and loving. And it was one of those things that I'm like, yes, there's still hope for humanity left. And then, of course, days later, I see all of the things that happened to you, getting all of the hate comments and this and that.
Do you know, and this isn't to like derail, someone posted a picture of an article of that yesterday. And Facebook, like someone posted something that you might be in. And it was a picture of me and Desmond and a headline about him, like, and I was just like, this, like, people are insane. Yeah. People are insane. And you're absolutely right. It is a lack of empathy because people, especially now, where there's so much unassuredness, there's so much doubt. We don't know what's going to happen a month from now, much less a year from now. Mm-hmm. And if people weren't selfish before, they absolutely are now.
They are now.
And it is and the other type of that more dangerous than anything during the pandemic, people were bored. They were sitting at home, they were bored, and they had nothing else to do but go and relieve their boredom online and do whatever. So it was.
Don't have hobbies anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like there is a lack of people who have hobbies. Don't collect something, collect cards.
Well, and it's funny because now people, like, when they're like, oh, they'll have a hobby, it's like they've seen every season of Desperate Housewives. Like
watching television is not a hobby.
As much as I love that show. I meant to say Real Housewives, but I said Desperate Housewives. I love Desperate Housewives.
You know what it was? We all love Brie Vandekamp, Queen of the Gays. Really,
I love her. But it's an interesting time to be alive and like be a witness to like the sociology of humanity right now.
It's It's wild, man.
It's brought out the best and the worst. But
Yeah,
you know,
I agree, because you're seeing the people that will be remembered for doing exactly what they're doing. And you know something? I hope that history either haunts them or blesses them for the rest of their lives.
it's so funny because whenever you get really passionate, I like feel like I'm being preached to by Dorothy Swarnack, and it makes me so happy. I'm sitting there, I'm like, geeking out. I feel like Dorothy's like venting to me. It's awesome.
You close your eyes and all you see is B.
Literally, no. And I was just like, I didn't want to be rude because I'm like closing my eyes. I close my eyes.
Who was it? I think it was Danny Schraffel, who is a part of the Gay Men's Chorus.
Right, I know Danny.
You know Danny well. And I think this was after I had done what did I do? I think it was one of the Snatch games that they did.
Okay.
That he comes to me and he goes, you should do a PSA as B. Arthur. And I'm like, excuse the fuck out of me. I should do what now as whom? Because years ago, B did something for Kentucky Fried Chicken, but she called it Kentucky Fried Cruelty. And I was looking at it and I'm like, I could do something for COVID-19. I could have like the circuit parties and whatnot. But then I wrote the copy out for myself and I'm like, this is too fucking long. I'm not going to do it. I can't. But that
even that, I can't. Just oh my god, I'm so like because also this is the first time that you and I have actually like interacted.
This is our first interaction.
And now that all of my attention is on you, bitch, when I tell you, you sound like Dorothy. Arthur is on the StreamYard, like.
Don't laugh. That's exactly probably what's going to happen next week when I have my show with Tony and Alexis. Alexis calls me B.
Really?
Every time I answer the phone, hello B. I'm like, oh hello Alexis. But that's honestly.
Well, I'm just talking to you now. She's only probably saying it for her sanity because on the phone, I swear I'd be talking to B. Arthur. Like it's probably just for her sanity. You sound exactly like her. So I can really imagine when you just have the voice and not the visual. It's just like, oh yeah, hi B. Like it's just for sanity purposes. And that bitch is a little crazy, but she has a thinker on her. So she's like, nope, I'm not gonna go crazy thinking I'm talking to Dorothy right now. So we're just gonna call you and move on and save the brain cells.
Well, as an impersonator, that means the absolute world to me. And I think,
well, you're welcome because it's well deserved. I'm not saying it because I don't mean it.
Speaking of, how did you end up on Spoiled NYC with Cocktails and Contours? Talk to me about that.
So funny enough. So as I said before, my career before drag, my career by trade, I'm a writer.
Yes.
And I was working for a boutique PR firm. I was their like head staff writer. I was their editorial manager. Like everything was going through me. And we would work with magazines and outlets to get stories out and stuff covered by our people. One of the outlets that the office manager came across was Spoiled NYC. Mm-hmm. And we did like a little featurette with them and I wrote it and it was great. And they emailed the manager and they're like, who was that writer that you had? And so we connected that way. And I started writing from Spoiled NYC, like normal articles. Like as a boy, I would go in. I was I kind of started off as like their LGBT correspondent, especially around Pride. I would talk about like all the parties happening, all the stuff going on. And one day I've been writing with them for like a year. Mm-hmm. And we were in this huge staff meeting and they were like, we want to take Spoiled into more of a video direction and do stuff with video and like live video. Back then that was like live video was just coming out. It was like Facebook had just done live video. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have an idea. And so, because they had known Bella was about like a year in at that point.
Okay.
so I like pitched the idea. My manager was like, "Hey, try it." And Cocktails and Contours went through its evolution because originally the idea was two queens doing each other's makeup, but then we ended up with like a 3-hour video because it's live. So
Yeah.
eventually it evolved, and then it kind of became almost like a talk show of sorts, where it was having well, now it's not even just, I've not only had drag performance on there, I've had a lot of different performers, interesting people in New York, in the queer New York scene, to come and talk and kiki, share their stories, and have a drink. Yeah, it's like my baby. I love it. I am doing one next week with Avant Garbage, the first.
Oh, yes.
I haven't even posted about that yet, so exclusive
Oh,
announcement.
exciting. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, so
I
it's
also love their aesthetic. I love that aesthetic. That is
actually, her and I were roommates for a year.
I can believe that.
And it was awesome, like living with another drag performer, because like it was the glitter everywhere.
Everywhere.
The kitchen table was literally just like the project table.
Yep.
It was nice to live. It felt like I was living in like an artist commune for like a year. It was great.
I am a big fan of communes. I really am. It's one of those things where I'm like, if and when I do move out of my family's house, Italian boy, not moving out until they're married. I would love to move into a commune with other artists and like-minded individuals. And I think that would
be a really cool experience. It really, because you don't have to. One of the biggest things, because before I lived with him, I was living in East Harlem for almost 4 years with roommates, and that's where I started drag. So for 2.5 years, I was just like normal, like on the go, have a guy over once in a while, nothing that. But then I started drag, and like I'm like walking through with stilettos at 3 a.m. and just.
There is nothing more satisfying than working an entire day in drag, coming home and taking your brassiere and your heels off.
It's one of those things. So one of my best friends in the world, she has the biggest rack of tits I've ever seen, and she tells me all the time, she's just like, I love and hate your drag. And I was like, why? And she was like, no, because you're beautiful, gorgeous, you're super fun, you do whatever, but you get to come home and take all that shit off. Like, she's just like, I can't take these off. Like,
that's hysterical.
But yes, there's Paul actually, when I de-drag, especially when we're getting out of my cincher or my corset, he like wait, there's like a sound, there's the exhale, there's the like, like there's a sound you wait for it. He's like,
we've all been there.
There's the exhale.
We have all been there. I cannot tell you the amount of times like I have seen strap marks on my head, just the boobs, sweat everywhere. I remember there was one event that I did where I was in Winifred Sanderson for 14 to 15 hours. So that is high heels, that's corsetry, that's not eating, because you don't eat when you're in drag. Never. Who heard of food when you're in drag? Not me.
When you drink,
any man will
taste it.
Absolutely. Alcohol by the gallon. And I remember coming back to the hotel. It was me and my sisters. We stayed at Yotel, and I packed everything up, brought everything home because I was only there for the night. I was only in Winifred Sanderson that day and night, and then I had to get back to the island because I had a gig. And I accidentally left my very wet corset in the suitcase. So you can imagine my heartache when I open the suitcase and I take out the corset and it is molded. And I'm like, what do I do? So
you burn it.
Vodka water.
What a perfectly good waste of alcohol.
Hey, you know what?
Actually, no, that's not a waste. You're using it to the full extent that it is capable of.
That's right. You know it. Like, if ever you have a stinky ass garment, vodka water.
Yeah, it's actually
Takes the stench out of anything. It cleaned, it sterilized, and I'm like, okay, nothing really to worry about. I see no rust. We're fine. It's all good. But it was one of those things where I'm like, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to do in that moment.
Yep.
But yeah, sorry for that that tangent. So
tangent on your own show.
How rude of me! How rude of me to have done that.
So entitled.
Puerto Vallarta, I say Puerto Vallarta. So you're doing cocktails and contours still. You're doing your shows in Connecticut. Are you still doing the shows in Connecticut, or are you not doing those anymore?
Well, we haven't. First of all, a lot of the places in Connecticut that we did are outside. It is now frigid.
That's true.
I was also doing shows in Astoria at Bel Air Diner. Which was also outside and was halted. I feel like all the outside shows were halted after Halloween, you know? But we're excited to go back to Connecticut when, you know, things are safe to do that. And it's, you know, back to that thing. It's like, it's really hard. You can't plan for spring right now because you don't know what's going to bring.
I remember.
I'm always
I survived COVID. The I survived COVID tour. That's I'm going to see that all over the place.
It's literally that's going to be it. But you know, I'm still doing monthly drag queen story hour readings with the East Meadow Public Library.
Yes, please tell me. I remember hitting you up about that. Tell me how you got into it. Tell me how much you love it.
Okay. So, Drag Queen Story Hour is probably one of my favorite things ever made in the entire world. So, backstory, when I was younger, I worked with kids a lot. I grew up in church. I was a children's church assistant. After church, I actually taught children puppetry. I used to be a puppeteer, yes. Yeah, like Kermit the Frog shit. So very, very used to working with kids, really liked working with kids. When I was in college, I worked for an LGBT youth center in Astoria on Steinway. So I was really like into working with kids, mostly because I didn't want any. But so then, you know, transitioned to drag. And one day I saw a post for a fundraiser at Stonewall for this organization called Drag Queen Story Hour. And I was like, Because at the point I was like I had my first Stonewall invasion there. I was coming in and out doing stuff. And I saw that was going to be there and did research. And when I found out that there's a program where drag queens can go to libraries and schools and read books to children, I was like, drag queen, work with kids, writer. It was like a perfect trifecta of all the things that I had done in my life so far. And I was like, I need to be there. And I remember going to Stonewall like the night. I didn't tell anyone I was going to be there. I came from another gig, came to Stonewall, and one of the queens there, who I knew who was like kind of hosting it, I was like, "Who's?"
Was it Shady Pines?
No, it was not Shady Pines. It was Shady Pines was there. I forgot the one who was organizing it. She's no longer with Drag Queen Story Hour, or else I would remember her, obviously. But I remember going right up to her and being like, first of all, I was like, because it was a fundraiser, and I was just like, I'd love to perform and help raise money. And she's like, oh yes, love to have you. Also, so now I'm giving my time. Who's the director? Who like runs this chapter? Pointed me in the direction. And I parked my ass right next to her, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Bella Noche," and like, and I was just like, "I need to do this because this, that, and the third. I work with kids. I'm a writer. I love books. I want to be a writer, and I'm gonna perform for you, so you know that I'm entertaining. So, just want to come introduce myself. Thanks." And
I I could just see that happening. Just you
And
next to
I
me
was
doing all of that.
to walk out of there, and literally we walked out there, and she was just like, "Okay, I'll let you know when the next training is." And I was like, "Yes." And now I'm the leader of the Long Island chapter. So
That's so exciting. I really am just so proud of you. I am.
thank you.
I love seeing your continued growth. I love seeing all that you're doing. I am in love with you. I really am.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love you too, B.
Uh,
I really do adore you.
so now that we've covered all of that, you and I have something in common besides a fabulous sense of fashion. We both suffer from having incredibly sensitive skin.
Yes.
And I did not find this out until just before we went live. And I definitely want to hear your struggles, your quick fixes, I want to hear everything because I have my thing, and I would just love to hear yours and what you do in order to prevent breakouts and redness.
Yeah. So ever since I was younger, I've always had problematic skin. I had really bad acne as a teenager, and translated into my adult life. And it's something I struggled with, especially in my early to mid 20s. And every once in a while, I'll still get like a flare up. But when I started doing drag, it just made everything worse between like the oil and things like that. So I learned how to. I'm not gonna say like it's a total defense because makeup is makeup, okay? You're putting a lot of harsh chemicals.
It's still gonna find a way. It's gonna find a way.
So like it's unless you have like the perfect skin of the gods from birth, like yeah, you're gonna get stuff from putting on at least this much amount of makeup every day. But I have at least learned a couple of things that are like absolutely necessary, or at least that I highly recommend doing. So first off, the number one thing that I feel like almost all drag performers have been guilty of employing that: do not fall asleep in your makeup. Do not. Like, you need to go. I don't care how drunk you are. I don't care how tired you are. You could have the shittiest night. Go and wash your damn face. Like, I've literally had to talk myself out of a laying down position to go and wash my face. Well, no, and also, like, now if I fall asleep with my face on, like, Paul makes fun of me. He's like, he'll tell our friends, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I woke up to the Shroud of Turin on the pillow this morning." Like, and I'm like, thanks, geez, loving, yeah, so supportive.
Is he around? Is he around right now?
He's actually at a friend's place for dinner who he hasn't seen in a while, and I was like, go hang out with your friends, go. But no, he's again, he's actually one of the people that will like remind me, like, can't go to bed, you gotta wash your face. Like, because I told him, I was like, do not let me go to bed with a face on, and he'd be like, oh, but sometimes you look so tired or you're drunk. Like, at least just like try and get me to take my face off. I know sometimes I can be real stubborn, or I can be real drunk and be like, but
exactly like that. Exactly like
that. But that's the number one thing, like remembering to take your makeup off at the end of the night and not going to sleep and letting it saturate for that whatever hours you're sleeping is literally the number one. No matter what skin you have, no matter what type of skin you have, your age, whatever, take your makeup off at the end of the night. You that's the number one. Number two, and this is just kind of like me, my preference. I find, because I have sensitive skin, I find a lot of makeup wipes to be harsh. Whether it be the rubbing, whether it be just the amount of chemical or whatever that's on there to get it off. And there are like organic wipes and good stuff you could do. I personally prefer cold cream.
I was gonna say there's cold cream, there's Albaline, there's
that's the thing. Like the two that like cold. If you're looking for like a cosmetic option, cold cream is great. It's effective, especially you get the one sometimes that has like the moisturizer in it. And it's super easy to get off your face. If you want something a little bit more natural, coconut oil. Coconut oil will get your makeup off like that. Coconut oil and 3 paper towels. You probably have to rinse your eyebrows because they won't get that off. But cold cream and coconut oil are like, yeah. And if you can like rotate between the two, that's even better because coconut oil is so good for your skin.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then number 3, I think, as far as like skincare and stuff like that goes, everyone has different skin. Everyone reacts and responds to things differently. And the thing you're gonna have to, try it, because washing your skin normally versus washing your skin once it's had makeup on, very different.
Very
Super
different.
There's different layers of things to do that. So like, figure, your normal face wash probably needs a little bit of a boost to make sure you get all those layers off. Because I remember when I first started doing drag and I would do the makeup wipe and I would come off or whatever, and I'm like, ooh, my skin looks so good, and I didn't realize I still had a whole fucking layer of makeup on, And so you gotta get in there. You gotta get those things.
You gotta get the chisel, you gotta get the hammer, you gotta get the jackhammer, and then hopefully you'll be fine the next morning.
Right. And then as part of like the recovery the next day, I really tried to do this the next day. Do like a face mask of some kind, whether it be like the sheet ones or like the ones you do. Like I love those like Freeman masks that you get at Ulta, and they have like 12 different types. I literally have like 8 upstairs right now and just rotate through them. You have to you need to put just as much attention into the cleanup,
your skincare, as you do into your makeup.
Because if you don't take care of your skin, your makeup application is just going to get harder. So, primer can only do but so much.
So, what makeup do you use, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, that's another interesting topic, because there's so many drag queens that have like the brand loyalty. So
I mean,
hard.
Krylon, Ben Nye. I've used Mayron. I've used Derma Blend. Just so many so much makeup.
Yes. I will say I definitely started drugstore, as most of us do. And I graduated into Krylon, but right now the Derma Blend, like what is it, like body and leg makeup, I actually that was a quarantine experiment, because during quarantine I was running out of Krylon and I can't just like pop into the Krylon store.
Not something easily accessible.
Right. And so I was just like, okay, well, I have these shows. I need foundation. And I put up a status and I was like, all right, what's like your go-to foundation? And like the one that was most said was the Krylon, but not the Krylon, Derma Blend, but the leg and body, not like the face one, the leg and body.
Yeah.
Bitch, when I tell you this thing, this thing covers your pores, covers your scars, it covers up your past mistakes. You got a dark
covers
past.
Up your ex-boyfriends, covers up everything.
You got a checkered past, use Derma Blend leg and body, it'll cover it up. Like but no,
the reason I asked it is because Anya Dick, Viva Vidalia, because I also posted a status about, because I wanted to use powder foundation instead of liquid foundation, which I've learned is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless you want to do because I also want to do day-to-day drag. And powder foundation just seems like an easier substitute than a liquid foundation.
I mean, you just used the word substitute, so
there that is. But they recommended I think Viva Vidalia, as a matter of fact, recommended the Krylon body and leg.
Derma Blend.
And I think I'm pretty sure I need to double check the status, but I know that Anya Dick also suggested Dermacol or Dermacolor.
It's interesting. Dermacol, I've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very thick. Like it's one of
A
those
little bit goes a long way.
but you can't put that on with a beauty blender. You need a brush. You know, it's one of those. It's like if there was ever a makeup that you could also use for spackling a wall, that would be Dermacol.
I mean, I have seen my pores. I definitely could use some spackling.
But it's everyone has their own preference. Also, different makeup also feels differently on your face, and there are some people who can deal with feeling like a spackle.
When I did medical assisting, it was pretty much the same thing. If you ask 10 cardiologists to go over an EKG, you're going to get 10 different responses as to what's going on in that EKG. It's the same thing with drag. You ask 10 drag queens what makeup they use, you're going to get 10 different answers.
It's true.
So it's fascinating. It really is fascinating.
Well, and that's kind of what makes it such an interesting art, because there are so many ways to do it and execute it successfully.
Yeah.
That it really is, when it comes down to it, sure, there are technical aspects that you should have down, but the vast majority is what works for you, how you want to interpret your drag, what you want to show off, the personality of. So like it's a very, very like choose your own adventure kind of thing.
I've never heard it put quite so elegantly as that. Yeah, it is.
Thanks. She's a writer.
And yes, she is a writer, bitch. So speaking of Krylon, you had a palette made from Krylon.
I did. Oh God, I almost forgot.
Isn't that exciting?
Pandemic.
I almost forgot. Silly me. I almost forgot that I was proudly sponsored by Krylon.
A lot has happened since then, okay?
Please, how did that happen?
Well, it's funny because so Krylon, at least I haven't talked to my Krylon people since pre-pandemic, because so much had changed. But I was partially sponsored by Krylon, and through my manager, and one of the Krylon New York City directors, his name is Tim Pearson, fabulous makeup artist, such an awesome guy.
I think I'm friends with Tim Pearson.
Oh, he's fantastic.
I have to double check, but that name does sound familiar.
He's painted my face twice, and bitch, when I tell you he's painted me, I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Like, you know,
I didn't know I could look like that. How do I look like that all the time?
Right, it's showing like what your face is really capable of. It's like, shit, I've been doing it wrong. But no, he's super talented, so fabulous. So a couple of years ago, he had wanted to do something new and different. Krylon is very like a professional band. They're not like, you know, something carried in Ulta. They're not super flashy, you know.
Oh God, no. They are very, very high end.
You know, Krylon is very much like, no, if you are a professional, you know the brand, you know we're good shit, and that's why you buy us. But he kind of wanted to do like a promotional thing. And so he contacted me and two other queens that he wanted to do makeup palettes with. And I'm the only one that actually like went through with the whole thing, because I was like, yes, and yes.
My question is, why wouldn't you want to do something like that? Like, that is a drag queen fantasy right there, to have a palette.
Well, it's interesting because the other queen is no longer a New York City queen, and we were in the same I guess managerial drag family. And then the other queen was Honey Davenport. So, and it was interesting. It's just like Honey was like off being like super busy. Like she had, I think Irene Ted said she had come in and like looked at stuff and whatever, but I was the only one who was like really excited about it.
Really excited and interested.
Well, and also like, I love Honey Davenport. Her and I are like, she even asked me, I already had a drag mom, but she asked me, she's like, "Do you have a drag mom?" And I was like, "Oh, I do."
So nice though.
But it was one of the things where, like, I love Honey Davenport, but I feel like Honey Davenport is a queen. Like, what would her palette be? Like yellow and brown, you know? So I feel like with me, someone who has like the brand of like being a mermaid, and there's so many ways to interpret that. Not only, you know, was it like, oh, cool, we can do a mermaid palette. I was so excited to like pick out the colors for it. Like literally, Tim even told me, he was just like, "Oh yeah, you were definitely the most excited by far," and I was like, "Because I don't deserve this." Like, I was just like,
I should not be here. What am I doing here?
But you know, it's one of those things where many times in my life, life has been like, "Oh no, you can handle the deep end, go." And like, rather than waiting in the water, they just pushed me in the 10 feet end. And you know, I'm a mermaid, so I swim. You know, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. We had like a whole launch for it. We sold a bunch of them. Like, it was just cool to like, I'll have that experience. I have like my little like poster shoot like up in my drag room. You know, it was a really, really cool moment of just like, all right, you've at least branded yourself well enough that like, you could recognize what a Bella Noche palette would look like, you know? So yeah, it was really cool. I'm really, really thankful, and shout out to Tim and Krylon for that amazing opportunity. It was really, really fun.
Well, friends, we have reached that time. We have been talking for an hour. It feels like we haven't been talking all that long at all.
Anytime anyone comes on Cocktails and Contours, they're like, "Oh my God, it's over." And I was like, "Yeah, bro.
Yeah, it's time. It's time." I mean, we can talk costume parts later. But I want to thank you again, Bella, for being on Catt Chatt. I am so thankful that you were able to take time out of your incredibly busy schedule to talk to little old me.
Yes, I haven't left in days. I'm so busy.
And I definitely want to have you and Paul on next time at some point. I definitely want to have a conversation with the both of you.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, he's not here. I don't want to speak for the other half.
No, no, of course. So
I would be very, very into it.
Yes, I would love that very much.
Yeah.
So where can the people find you?
Oh, well, you can find me on all social media at Bella Noche NYC, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. No longer Craigslist because they took off the personals. They're so stupid. But yes, Bella Noche NYC on all the platforms. So let's be friends. He's watching Golden Girls clips videos on YouTube.
Hold on. No, that was what I wanted to post. I wanted to post that. Yes, you can find them at Bella Noche NYC on all forms of social media. If you want to find me, you can at That Tomcat on Facebook and all forms of social media. Just That Tomcat everywhere. It's Venmo, $, Cash App, just everywhere. It's That Tomcat everywhere. I'm branded, I say. If you want to see this, you can see it on That Tomcat, and I also upload to Facebook again, That Tomcat. And I will see you next week when my guests will hopefully be the fabulous Tony Holmperm and the magnificent Alexis Flame. I will see you guys next week on another episode of Catt Chatt. Ciao me out for now, guys.
Bye.